trading in Path of Exile has always been a bit of a headache. It's really, really annoying. Spamming tons and tons of people, and only a fraction, if any, even gets back to you. And then you get to their hideout, and then you have to wait for an eternity before they leave their map so you can actually do your trade. All of that is a thing of the past. Asynchronous trade is coming to Path of Exile 2. As someone who's been trading a lot in Path of Exile 1 for the past decade, actually more than that, about 11 and a half years now, I think it is, a lot of frustration comes to trading. And I mean, a lot of frustration. So I wanted to make this video to break down the trade, whether or not it's going to be good or bad for the game. I think we can all agree it's going to be pretty damn good, but I wanted to tackle some of the pointers in this video, so let's just crack into it. But before we do so, I just have to point out, more than half of you guys watching my videos are not subscribed to the channel. What are you waiting for? Just click the button. It helps the channel. Everybody wins, and we can all go out of our very... All right, I appreciate it. Thanks. Now, there's a big change, and the new system introduces Angie, an NPC in your hideout. She can handle your merchant tabs and lets player buy your items without you being online. That's what asynchronous trading means. Here's how it works. As a seller, you put items in a merchant tab and then set the price in the currency, whether it be Chaos Orbs, Exalted Orbs, or any other orbs. Buyers can find your items on the trade website or in the in-game version of this. When they click buy, their character will teleport instantly to your hideout. The purchase is then instant from there, and the seller receives a notification with unclaimed currency. This is, however, a race to the first one to buy it. So if you sell something that is underpriced, a lot of people will try to get this first, and whoever gets there first will then be able to buy it. But if the other guys trying to get there first can also buy it, so in the end, whoever buys it first gets it. Very simple. There's also a little system behind it that prevents people from putting up an item for sale and then immediately taking it down. So once you've committed to a price for the item, it is then locked for a certain amount of time. So you can't put something up for a fragment scroll and then say, hey, I'm just gonna take it down again. No, you're committed to that price. So make sure you price things accordingly with the price you do want for it, so you don't misclick or misprice your items. Very, very important detail. This means that the seller can keep farming or go AFK or even be offline entirely, while the buyers can grab what they need immediately. So let's talk about the pros and cons, starting with the old system. Honestly, it wasn't all bad. One big plus was that it was fully manual. You get to see the seller, you get to interact with them, and it felt like an actual trade rather than just clicking a button. There was also no extra gold cost, which is introduced with the new automated system. This meant that prices you saw was the price you paid with no hidden taxes or anything. And also to mention, sometimes you might want to haggle with someone. They might have an item up for 10 divines, and you wanted to offer them 9 divines. With this new system, you're not able to do so, but in the old system, bargaining or haggling for prices is a thing that was possible. Sure, you might be able to do this with the new system as well, but you'll have to reach out to the person whenever he comes online, should he be offline. But the old system had some pretty big drawbacks. First off, you were completely dependent on the seller being online to begin with. If they were farming, AFK, or just didn't feel like responding, tough luck. You had to wait. That also made trading slow and time-consuming, because sometimes you'd spend more time chasing sellers than actually playing the game. And honestly, it could interrupt your gameplay, which is frustrating and you're in the middle of a boss fight or farming a map. This led to a lot of people feeling like, hey, if the trade there for an item that you're selling is not really that much currency, you might choose to completely ignore responding to the person because you're making more money just staying in the map and farming than leaving the map to do a 1 chaos trade. Now let's talk about the new system. The biggest and most obvious upside is that it's asynchronous. Sellers don't need to be online, which is a huge game changer. You can drop items in your merchant tab, go off farming, and then sale just happens automatically. It's also faster and more convenient for buyers because they're adding it all in-game. That's right, they recently just announced that there will now be a fully integrated in-game market browser instead of the website, which is absolutely fantastic. I will point out that there seems to not be any sort of live searches available in the new trade system through the web browser system in-game. For those of you who don't know what a live search is, what that basically is that it allows you to do a search for a specific item, maybe for a specific price or with specific roles, and then the web browser would basically ping you when that becomes available that someone is selling that fits your description and your search parameters. This means that a lot of people might still want to use this to try to snipe items or try to find that specific type of item that they're looking for, and they'd have to use a third-party web browser for this tool or this specific system to work. Now, I expect that trading will be much more active now because more items will be available at any time instead of waiting on sellers. And a note for those like me who have 70 billion unused premium stash tabs, you can convert them into merchant tabs if they were bought before the launch of 0.3. It's a nice way to carry over your old investments into the new system, and I'm very thankful for this personally. On top of that, the gold cost actually has a hidden benefit. It makes botting less profitable. Bots can't just flip items endlessly without worrying about the extra gold cost, so this small tax, if you will hopefully keep the market a bit cleaner. But obviously, we'll have to see how this actually is in a few weeks from now. Now, there's obviously the cases of people doing boost runs for gold, which botters could probably be utilizing, and this might still be a problem, but at least the botters would have to go through extra steps to make this possible. There might be some negatives though, as it's probably not going to be perfect as expected. Some players might miss the personal interaction, as haggling or chatting with a seller is now going to require extra steps, as you have to actually reach out to the person rather than following the new system where you just click a button to get teleported to their hideouts. Plus, because it's never been tested with a full in-game economy, we could see some weird early balance issues and even exploits and glitches, but we'll see how it pans out. But like prices fluctuating unexpectedly, or certain items selling faster than usual, maybe the gold tax being too low or too high. Even Jonathan in one of the interviews mentioned he wasn't sure how this was going to impact the whole economy, so I'm quite curious to see how it's going to turn out. There's one more caveat worth mentioning for new players. Buying these merchant tabs can feel borderline pay to win. The asynchronous system saves so much time, and as we know, time is a huge resource in Path of Exile if you want to be efficient. You can basically farm and trade without ever having to wait on other players, which gives a massive advantage over those who don't have the tabs. Stash tabs themselves have always had a slight pay-to-win element, if you will, but this just takes it one step further for new players who want to jump straight into trading their items, so keep that in mind. This is the whole reason why I've personally always considered Path of Exile to be a free-to-try game, but if you do decide that, hey, this is a marvelous game that I will devote the rest of my life to, there you go. Now you're gonna have to pay a little bit of money for some stash tabs to play it. As I said, my opinion is that it's a free to try, but at a certain point, you are going to feel forced to buy some stash tabs. Overall, this change is the one thing that I cared more about than any minion changes in the entire game that has ever happened. Asynchronous trading, it just alleviates so much frustration. It makes the trade frictionless and sellers don't have to drop what they're doing. And I'm super excited for this, and I couldn't have asked for more. And I was so surprised to hear that this was coming for 0.3. This got me giga excited. Now, that said, it's probably not going to be perfect. We're in the early stages of it. There's definitely going to be some issues. There might be even some exploits, bugs, glitches, you name it. And we might see some crazy things happening to the economy. We have no idea. Time will tell. I'm very excited for it, but we'll have to wait and see what kind of changes I'll have to adapt to as this progresses through the test versions of this in 0.3. If you're an already experienced veteran Path of Exile gamer, a system like this is going to offer players like us the opportunity to make a ridiculous amount of currency at a very short time span. Selling cheap items for a very low price means that they will actually be sold and they don't cost us that much time. Because most of us reaches a point where we say, well, you know, if the item is worth less than X amount of currency, I'm not even going to bother putting it up for sale. I'll either leave it on the ground or I'm going to vendor it, because I'm not going to waste my time going out of my map to sell that to someone. What that also means is that the supply of these items will obviously skyrocket. There's a little, pros and cons of this in terms of the economy, which is just economy 101 basics, supply and demand kind of approach to it. But for those players that place the game a tremendous amount of hours, this does offer us the possibility to make a ridiculous amount more currency than what people that don't play that many hours would do. How that will affect the economy, I'm not so sure. I'm quite excited how it's going to turn out, because I do believe that the majority of us players, new players and veteran players for that matter, will agree that this is something that we were going to be very excited about. We've been asking for this for over a decade, and we finally got it. It's crazy. Leave a comment down below if you guys have any tips or any comments or any concerns about the new trading system. They'll support the channel a lot, and I do appreciate that. I will have videos coming out basically every day, anything from tips and tricks videos, tier lists, build guides and whatnot for veteran players as well as new players alike. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss out. Until next time, as always, stay safe, keep rocking.